In this SUPboarder review, we're going to bring out the big boys. This is a 14-foot Starboard touring board in their Pine Tech construction. A full-on touring machine designed to paddle fast and take you places with lots of equipment. The specifications for this board: 14 foot long, 30 inches wide, 7.2 inches thick, so it's not as thick as some other boards on the market, has 290 litres in volume, comes as standard with a US box, weighs 15.9 kilograms, and it retails in the Pine construction at £1,925. The materials of the Pine Tech construction is an EPS moulded foam core wrapped with a unidirectional glass outer layer. Then it has a wooden veneer of a 0.6mm Australian pine on top of the board, and the board is finished off down the rails. Where you might notice is the unidirectional flax rails, which is a trademark of Starboard for this year in their Pine Tech construction. And moving on to our SUPboard impressions, well, we reviewed the 2017 Starboard touring board, but it was a 12.6x31, and we really wanted to look at the 14x30 that year. We have got it now, and we are not disappointed with the look of the board. As I said with the last board reviewed in 2017, the finish of these touring boards is absolutely stunning, and you can really see that it has been designed for touring and for going places. For example, the bungees at the aft and up forward are really well placed, and you can get a relatively large amount of equipment under each of those, especially the back point here, which is well, it's scooped in the deck. You can put a load of equipment in there and it will not move, very stable on the board. Another thing which we noticed last year's board, the sort of bungee eyelet or tie down points that are under the board are nice and big, so you could replace these bungees with thicker rope if you needed to. Other sort of features on this board, there's various leashing points on this board at the back and up at the midpoint here. GoPro FCS mounts you could put in anywhere, and it also comes with a star mount as well, which is where you can attach other various mounts, GPS holders, GoPro mounts, all that sort of stuff that comes with the package as well. Really big recessed carry handle as you expect to see on a board like this, so easy to carry. The blue deck pad up at the front area here is finished in the crocodile style EVA deck grip, and again this deck pad is sort of recessed into the board, so the wood actually goes down here until it meets the deck pad, and really nice sexy looking feature, to be honest, that you can really only see when you touch and feel this board up close. When you're touring also, you might want to move your footwork back a little bit to trim the board, so it has got an extra deck pad back here as well. One thing that has to be mentioned is the rails of the board. Finished off with a unidirectional flax railing. It looks really good, and it's very hard wearing, which is just what you need when you're touring, because especially if you're loading this board up, you're carrying it places, you're portaging over things, it can weigh a bit. You're not really going to have to worry about putting the board down on concrete and rocks with the rail system like that. It's another standout rail finish that Starboard make, along with their Starlight construction as well. Definitely a big thumbs up from us. Moving off the shape of the board, well, this board is designed for two things in mind, and that is speed and ease of tracking, ease of going in a straight line. Very long and slender profile, a nice pointy nose, bringing it drawed back into the tail. Some of the key features on this board that give it that extra long glide and tracking are the lowered nose shape at the front there, which makes sure it sits with its full board length in the water, giving you the full 14-foot ultimate glide and tracking. Then moving back, you can see the deck is slightly domed, which is there to shed the water. So if you are going downwind and you've got water on the front of your board, it doesn't really run back to the board, it runs off the sides as much as possible. The really nice thing about this touring board, opposed to other touring boards in the market, is your standing position is nice and low in the board. By making it lower down, it gives you more stability and control, definitely when it's choppy and the conditions aren't great. So turning the board over, let's look at some of the key points underneath this board that make this board so good on the water. If I move my way up to the nose of the board, because it's a 14 foot, it's a rather big board, we have got the nose shape under here has a very slight V in the center of the board, but actually to the side of the V, it actually starts to flex off. So it has a bit in the middle and a double concave on the side. It's quite a complex shape, to be honest, and they don't really talk about it in the Starboard catalogue. So what it's doing is the water is basically being parted from left to right of the board, but then as you move back here, the concave, which is what you know in the middle of the board, you can probably see here, starts to form around the side of the V. Now what that does is it basically gives you a really stable entry to the board, but it makes the water wrap off the rails. it doesn't catch if you're paddling upwind or downwind in choppy conditions. The water just shrugs off the side of the board, but it does funnel a certain amount of water back towards the midsection, which gives you the stability and the lift. Moving back to the middle here is where you can see the classic big concave in the middle of the board, which is there to hold the water and force the water towards the back of the fin. On the side of the board, what you might have noticed that they talk about in the catalogue is the flat side planes. So that's where the board here on the side is completely flat. Now what that does, if you have a flat side plane to a board instead of a curve, as you're rocking the board from side to side, that part of the board is slapping or pushing the water. Basically it makes it more stable, because you're trying to force water past that point. Having a flat area makes it more stable. So that's for extra stability. And the last thing they talk about in the catalogue is having boxy rails, which is where the rails are very vertical. That basically reduces the amount of water that comes over the board and onto the board, which then slows you down. And actually also, because it is a square edge, gives you a bit more stability because the water can't wrap around the rail itself as you're rocking back and forth. So that concave then moves all the way back towards the fin, and then the board comes as standard with Starboard's new balsa core in their bioresin fin. This is a Dolphin 22. It's a very nice shaped fin for touring and cruising and general racing too, actually. Nice and wide at the top of the base there, gives you low stability and nice and swept back, so no seaweed or debris gets caught on it when you're paddling. So who do we think this board's suited for? Well, it's funny because it is a full-on touring board, but the shape of it is very nice for paddling too. So you could easily enter a race with this board, no doubt, and you would probably do pretty well because it is a fast touring shape. But it really does lend itself to touring. It's geared up with touring straps front and back. It can hold a lot of weight and it can carry a big ride or two. Definitely somebody up to about 115, 120 kilos with kit could go on this board and go places. An absolute belter of a board if you are into touring and you want to go places with equipment. So pros and cons and value for money. Well, pros, it is the best designed big touring shape board we have seen and used. Cons, it is a little bit heavy at 15.9 kilograms, but that is to be expected as it is a fairly big board. Value for money, well, at £1,925 is definitely up there, isn't it, price point? If you want this board but can't afford to go for the full Pine-Tech construction, have a look at the Starlight construction that retails at £1,499, and then that board becomes a very competitive price point. Hope you found that SUPboarder review interesting and informative. This is an outstanding touring board wanting to take you places. If you want to find out more about this board and what boards we compare it to, check out SUPboarder Pro. But until next time, we'll see you on SUPboardermag.com or on YouTube. Thanks a lot.